we live in a guru day and age who will teach you how to make $10,000 a month as a marketer, and yet they have never made $10,000 a month as a marketer, but they're making now way more than $10,000 a month teaching other people how to make $10,000 a month. One of the biggest problems that I see companies make, brands make, and individuals make is
Wayne Mullins, a marketing pro who has coached over 20,000 marketers, crafted marketing books, and turbocharged a $600 million success story in 5 years.
Earl Nightingale said years ago, if you want to drastically transform your business over the next 12 months, the number one way to do that is to spend an hour a day figuring out how you can better serve your customers and clients. Regardless of where you are, regardless of what you're pursuing in your life, this one phrase literally will transform your life, will transform your business, will transform your health. And I know that's a big claim, but this is it. This is the phrase.
Wayne, it's been very exciting to see you here, and I'm very excited to see you here because I feel like we'll have a very fun conversation and deep conversation about marketing, since marketing is a very important and crucial thing, because marketing these days not only allow you to sell your product, but also it has become so much focused on customer behavior and people psychology that I have seen marketers, I know that marketers like study consumers behavior, their brain, and their like lifestyle to sell the best optimized product to ensure that they're getting the most value out of what the company is selling to the customers. So, but previously it was not like this, right? I think it happened due to the rise of the internet, and marketers are getting more access to a lot of consumer data. So, where do you think it's like heading towards at this moment?
Yeah, great question. And you're absolutely spot on. We're in a phase or an era, I guess you could say, with marketing and with the way the world works, quote unquote, right now, that things feel very complex, very complicated for marketers. It seems like, every other week there's a new social platform or a new tool that becomes available to help you with your marketing, help you be more effective and efficient. And from my experience, what I've discovered is this, that marketing really boils down to two simple things. And one of those is what you just talked about. That is, number one, psychology, understanding human behavior, understanding how people think, how they make decisions. And the other component is math, because at the end of the day, if you aren't holding every single dollar accountable, you will never know if your marketing is working or if it isn't. And so those two elements, psychology and math, are the foundation pieces, right? They're the fundamental building blocks of all successful marketing. But the flip side of that whole equation, with all the confusion and all the tools and all the new platforms born, I think it's important to remember that at the end of the day, marketing's job, every campaign, every individual thing that you do, the entire goal of that thing is just to move a person one step closer to making a purchasing decision. That is it. We don't have to overcomplicate it. We don't have to overanalyze it. You have to ask yourself, did this particular marketing campaign, did this particular ad move my audience one step closer to making that purchasing decision?
As a marketer, when you are researching about your customers and your customer demographics, and you're finding out so much of information about them, you're gaining a lot of in details information. And that's also like giving you a lot of power, since now you know how the consumer or like a particular person or demographic will behave according to what the information you send or the campaign that you send. So it's a lot of power. So how do you ensure that marketers are using this power responsibly?
Yeah, I think that at the end of the day, unfortunately, there's nothing I can do. There's nothing you can do to prevent those who want to use that power, that information in the wrong way, in the wrong manner for their own personal gain. There's nothing that we can do about that. But what we can do is ensure that when we are marketing our products, our services, or we are working with a client to market theirs, that we are ensuring that every time a customer, a client pulls out their wallet and is about to hand over some money, that the product or service that we are about to sell them is more valuable to them than the money they're about to part with. Meaning, we have to ensure that the product's going to deliver on the promises that we're making that it's going to deliver on, or the service that we're talking about. And so it's our responsibility as marketers to ensure that they are getting way more value for their dollars, for their money, than what they're parting with. And we have to do that in today's world, in today's society, if you will, because there are 6.5 billion people on the planet with this little device I'm holding up called a smartphone now. And what that means is there are 6.4 billion people who, within the matter of minutes, have the ability to share with all of their friends, all of their connections, their experience with our product or service. And so if we are short-sighted, in other words, if we are more concerned about making more, taking more value from the customer than we're delivering, it won't be long before our reputation gets spread out by the people who are not receiving the value they anticipated with our product or service.
As you said that it can be, let's say, even if you do a lot of research and create a customer profile and you're like almost sure that it's going to be a great marketing campaign, it can still turn out not to be like that, because human behavior, you're dealing with human behavior. Human behavior can be weird at times because you never know, like there's a lot of luck involved in that. And so when it comes to designing a marketing campaign, there is a certain kind of risk, right? So how do you mitigate that risk and ensure that it's going to be all right?
Sure. I would say the very first thing to do is to remember that marketing's job is to move people one step closer to a purchasing decision. What I see so often with entrepreneurs and with marketers is they believe they can run to Facebook, run to TikTok, run to email campaign, whatever it may be. They can run to one of these platforms. They can create an ad, create a post, send out an email, and they believe somehow that one thing is going to take people from just learning about their product or service all the way to them pulling out their wallet and handing them money. And so I see so often that entrepreneurs and marketers use this one strategy over and over again, and then they complain that marketing doesn't work or marketing is ineffective or inefficient. And that strategy is this. It's what I call the hope and prayer strategy, right? So they go to Facebook or they go to TikTok or they go to Instagram. They make this great post or this great ad. They publish it. And then nothing happens, right? No one pulls out their wallet and hands them money. Well, the mistake is we believe that one thing is going to take people all the way from first hearing about us to pulling out their wallet. So what I would say is that all marketing pieces are going to give you feedback. But if you're demanding too much from one particular marketing campaign, you are setting yourself up for failure. It's not the campaign. It's not the platform. It's not the copywriting. It's not the graphics. It's none of those things. It is you. You have unrealistic expectations for one campaign. And so there's a whole framework that we love to go through. We walk our clients through and we utilize this framework because what it does is it forces us to hold campaigns accountable for the one thing they should be accountable for.
And what is that one thing? Getting them to buy a new product?
Yeah, so we teach this whole framework called the natural progression with marketing. And so the natural progression is based on psychology. It's the way that every single human being, it doesn't matter where they live, it doesn't matter what socioeconomic background they come from, it is the same psychological triggers that every single person goes through when they make a purchasing decision. And that is simply this. I'm going to walk you super quick through it, and then we can dive in if you want to the individual components. Okay. But if you envision a circular clock, an analog clock hanging up on the wall. So at the top would be the 12 o'clock spot. Over on the side, it's going to be 3 o'clock. Down at the bottom, 6 o'clock. Over on the other side is 9 o'clock. Okay, so at the very top spot where 12 o'clock is, we're going to label that strangers. So strangers are everyone in the world who doesn't know about our product or service, but we sincerely believe that they would get more value from our product or service than from the money in their pocket. In other words, if they exchange the money in their pocket for our product or service, they are going to be better as a result of making that trade. So step number one for marketers, we have to get crystal clear. And you brought up this point earlier about understanding our demographics, understanding our audience, but we have to be crystal clear about who are the strangers that don't know about us, but could drastically benefit from what it is that we're offering. And then at the 3 o'clock spot, so strangers is at the top, 3 o'clock spot is what we would call friends. So how do you move someone from a stranger to a friend? 2 ingredients are needed. Number one, they have to know about you, right? Super obvious. They're never going to be your friend if they don't know about you. And number 2, they actually have to like who you are, what you do, what your product or service provides. Because let's think about this. Let's say that you and I decide we're going to go into the cattle business. We're going to raise cattle and we're going to sell, it's huge here in the States, but we're going to sell grass-fed beef. Okay, that's what we're going to sell. Now, what good would it do for us to market, to try to get our message in front of people who are vegan or in front of people who are vegetarians, right? It's not going to do us any good. And yet, that is what marketers do day in and day out. They're putting their message, spending their hard-earned money, putting their message and their product in front of people who will never benefit from their product or service. And yet they flip around and they complain that marketing isn't working, that they're not getting results. So number one, we got to get clear on those strangers. We've got to get them to campaign number one, to know about us and to like us. And then we're at 3 o'clock. So those are now our friends. We have to move them to 6 o'clock, which is a customer, a client. That is when they pull out their wallet and they hand us money. Now, one core ingredient is needed to move people from friends into customers. That ingredient is trust. Now, the problem is no one is going to trust you, and they're not going to trust me as an entrepreneur, as a marketer. The reason is they know we have a vested interest. They know that we are biased. They know that we want to convince them because we will gain something in that transaction, right? We're going to make some money. We're going to make some profit. So they're not going to trust us. So who are they going to trust? Well, they're going to look for other people who are like them, who have benefited from our product or service. So as a marketer, as an entrepreneur, it's so important that you are building a bank, a toolkit of people who have benefited from your product or service, who have said great things about you, who've left reviews for your products or services. You have to build that. So your campaign to move people from the 3 o'clock spot, which is friends, into customers or clients, is all about trust. And again, there's nothing you or I can do to build trust, because they know we have a vested interest in that decision. And then the final one, then we can jump back in however you want. But the final one is smart marketers today understand that once you get a customer, you have a very important element that if you choose to market correctly, you can turn those customers into evangelists, into raving fans for your product, your service, your company. So that's moving people from the 6 o'clock spot up to the 9 o'clock spot. And here's the beautiful thing. When we have evangelists, when we have raving fans, what happens? They go tell who? They go tell their friends, their colleagues, their coworkers, their family about our product or service. Therefore, it draws a line basically from the 9 o'clock spot over to the 3 o'clock spot, removing all of that effort, all of that energy trying to convert strangers to become our friends. So that is a natural progression. And that is how you can strategically make sure that you have specific campaigns and you're holding those specific campaigns to a standard or to a metric, and you're only measuring off of that one requirement.
Trust is a very important component when it comes to long-term business or conducting long-term business. And when you mentioned the component about trust, one thing came to my mind is brand identity, you know, because the brand identity or the identity of a brand is built upon people's trust or what you have done over these years or how your product or service has delivered according to the performance and stuff like that. So so as a marketeer, how do you build a company's brand identity?
Yeah, I think it's important. Step number one is to understand that every single interaction you have with a prospect or with a customer is a chance to either build trust or to build suspicion. There's very little neutral ground. You're either building trust or you're building suspicion. So, in other words, if you were to come to our website and you were to order, let's say we sell products, we sell bottled water, for example, and you were to order from our website, and you expect the product to arrive at your office or at your home within a week, but it now takes 2 weeks for you to get the product, we have eroded some of that trust. Same thing with when people email you. So let's say that they're considering your product or service and they send an email. How long does it take for you to respond to that email? Because in that gap between the time they sent their email and the time that you respond, you're either building trust or you're building suspicion. In other words, you're either building a case that you stand behind your product or service, that you are trustworthy, that there is something of value in the company, right? You are here to serve them, to help them achieve whatever it is or solve whatever problem they have. And so I think the first step for us as marketers and entrepreneurs is to remember that every single interaction, whether answering the phone, whether they visit our website, our social media, they click something in our cart, whatever it may be, we have to ask ourselves, are we building trust in this moment or are we building suspicion?
Being like developing a brand requires like being continuous and spontaneous with what you are doing, because as you said that if you're not spontaneous or if you're not responding to your emails quickly, then it will obviously build suspicion, because there will be more anticipation as to like why is it happening and what's happening, and that will most likely be negative because consumers will think that, oh, you're not paying, sorry, customers will think that the company is not paying attention to them, that's why you are um, that's why they're not responding to you. But when it when a business grows big, it becomes hard for them to reply to, or to take care of every single customer individually, or to take care of their needs individually. And sometimes what happens is that their product or their customer service malfunctions, or they do not get the opportunity to take care of every single customer at once, because they have like so many customers to take care of, right? So so how do you deal with the situation when you have like too many customers and you don't know how to like deal with them?
Yeah, what I would say is, first of all, it's a mindset shift. So if you believe that part of your marketing job is to turn ordinary customers into evangelists, what that means then is that some of your marketing dollars must be spent on that side of the equation, which means you may need to hire more people, more customer support reps, et cetera, right? I think the mentality for marketers for so long is that our job is to attract new people into the top of the funnel, to bring them to the point of sale, and then do nothing else, right? It's out of our hands. It's customer support's responsibility at that point. And the reality is that is not the case anymore. Smart marketers, smart entrepreneurs understand that once someone becomes a customer, that is the golden opportunity to exceed their expectations, to ensure that we are converting them into evangelists so they will go tell other people about us. So I think from a mindset perspective, the notion is, or the important thing to remember is, Those are marketing dollars. Customer support is marketing. And
Mm.
you should be willing to move more and more of your marketing dollars away from the attraction side and into the keeping customers and converting customers into evangelists for your organization.
Hmm. Another powerful marketing tool I find is word of mouth. I don't think people enough talk about that. Mostly, I've seen people these days talk about Facebook ads or growing on social media, like inorganically, like paying this social media platform to boost your content or your ad. And these days, influencers have a lot of say, especially the micro influencers who are like not too much famous, like not too mainstream, but people, they have some kind of influence, but people can relate with them. And so many people are turning to TikTok to grow their business or to gain more discoverability. But sometimes they're doing it in the wrong way. They're not choosing the organic way, because the organic way is very hard and it takes time to organically build your connection and build your brand identity. So uh, when if someone wants to grow their business through TikTok or social media, how do they do that? What's your advice for them?
Yeah, I would again return back to what we would call the natural progression. And I would look at and see and discover where we need to move people. Do we need to move people from strangers to friends? Or are we struggling to move them from friends to customers? Or are we struggling to keep our customers and convert them into evangelists for our brand? So that's step number one, is we have to understand before we go to social media or any platform or any tool, what are we trying to accomplish? Which of those steps are we trying to get people to move through to the next phase? Because if we don't clearly define that, then running to Facebook, running to TikTok, running to whatever the latest platform is, we're going to end up frustrated because it's not going to deliver what we thought it could or we thought it should deliver. So, what I would say is that you, as the marketer, as the entrepreneur, must identify that next step. So if the step is, I want to turn people from strangers into friends, ask yourself who out there has the audience, who and where is that particular audience for my business? Where are all these strangers hanging out? Is it TikTok? Is it Facebook? Is it, maybe it's not on social media at all, right? Maybe it's they're watching television or they're listening to radio, or maybe it's none of those. Maybe they're all at the country club playing golf, right?
Hmm.
Where are they? And until we get crystal clear on where they are, running to the platform or running to do the latest and greatest thing, we're only going to end up frustrated. You know, there's this great analogy. It's called the marketing triangle. You know, and it's just like a triangle, like looks like a pyramid, and there are three M's on this marketing triangle. At the top is the market, and that is the most important thing. That is the who. Who are we trying to reach? Where are those people located? The next is the message. So the top of the triangle is the market. Over on the bottom right would be the message. Only once we understand the pain points, the frustrations, the goals, the problems, all of those things about our market, about our strangers we're trying to reach, only then can we craft messages that cut through the noise, that cut through all the drama online, all the, the chaos and the noise,
Hmm.
and we can speak directly to them, directly to their heart. And then the other side, over on the bottom left of that triangle or the pyramid, would just be the media. Like, where do we take that message? So once we understand the market, then we can craft the message. And based on the market, based on the message, we can then figure out where do we need to put this particular message? What media do we need to deliver the message to ensure that we reach the market?
Hmm. People these days are trying to build their brand identity through social media. And by brand identity, I don't mean like company's brand identity. They're trying to become a brand themselves. And what they're doing is later on, after like they're establishing their brand, they're selling their a product or a merchant, or like starting a new business. And what's happening through that is they are skipping the trouble of getting the first few initial customers, because it's very hard to get the first initial customers if you're like starting a new business. But if you are already established brand or a personality, then you don't have to do that. So as an individual, from a marketer's perspective, how do you build your own brand identity in this era?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. So what they're doing though is they're building the market first, right? They're building the market, they're building their audience, they're resonating
Yes.
with that audience, they're understanding that audience, they're communicating with their messaging directly to the heart of that audience. And then they're figuring out the product or service that they're going to their offer based on their understanding of that particular market. But if you are going to focus on building your own personal brand, your own personal identity, it's the same process. Step number one is you have to get clear about the market you are communicating with. One of the biggest problems that I see companies make, brands make, and individuals make is they want to speak and they want to appeal to everyone. And that's wrong. We have to speak and communicate directly to the heart of those in our audience. And so by default, that means our messaging will probably not be appealing to some people, right? Because we are speaking to the heart of a very specific audience. And by default, that means our messaging may not resonate. It may not stick. And honestly, in some instances, it may even be offensive to certain people out there. But if we are speaking to the heart, if we are speaking to our audience clearly and directly, that is how you begin to get traction. And again, what I see the biggest mistake people make is they haven't clearly honed in on the who, on the market. And until you do that, you are just adding to the noise on social media. Here's the exercise that we love to take clients through. So a lot of people have heard of what's called the customer avatar. It's where you create a fictitious character who would represent your ideal customer, your ideal client. So you would write down, they're typically female, their age typically between the ages of 35 and 50. They have 3 kids. They live in this type of area. Their household income is this. They like these TV shows. They read these types of books. They drive these types of vehicles. So you go down this list and you answer all of these questions and you build this fictitious character, this avatar of the person that you believe and you know to be your best customer. What that does is it then helps you ensure that your messaging stays focused on those things. It also helps ensure that you're putting your marketing dollars, you're putting your media, you're buying the right media to ensure that your message is in front of the right audience. But the problem that we run into when we do this exercise is that exercise is very analytical. It's very factual. So it's like, they're between the ages of this and this. They typically have 3.5 kids. They live in this particular area. So it's very, very factual information. And the problem is when we think analytically to write our campaigns, to write our messages, they don't resonate. They sound like everyone else's. So the exercise that we love to walk clients through is this. It's called the magic journal page. So imagine that your ideal customer, the person that you want to build this relationship with, the person that you want them to love who you are and what you do and the message that you put out so much that they're willing to share, they're willing to go tell other people. You imagine that person, whoever that is for you, they wake up in the morning and it's early, their alarm's gone off, they go fix their cup of coffee and they stumble over to their desk and they're wiping the sleep from their eyes, right? They sit down at their desk and they're going to write a page in their journal because that is what they do every morning. They flip open the journal to what should be a blank page for today. And there's already a date on the page. There are already words written on the page. So they're thoroughly confused now, right? They're wiping their eyes. They're like, what in the world's going on here? And as they begin reading that journal page, someone has written significant detail about their pain points, about their frustrations, about their desires, about what they're currently going through in their life, about how they feel emotionally, how they feel spiritually. Someone has written in detail about what's going on in their life, not from an analytical perspective, but from an emotional, from the heart. And so the exercise is, as entrepreneurs, as marketers, if you take the time to write a journal page as if you are your ideal customer, right? You're getting in their head, you're getting in their heart, and you're writing as if you were them. And then you stop and you go write a message to that audience. It's night and day difference. Night and day. What you write after doing that exercise, the campaigns that you write, the emails that you write are drastically different because you're in a place, you're in a state where you're speaking to the heart.
Can you give me an example from your client's experience that before they created the customer avatar, it used to be like this, and after creating the avatar, their performance improved drastically? Can you share any personal story from your client experience?
Sure. So we've got we've got a lot of clients in a lot of industries, but one of them is let's just call it a dessert place. So it's a place where people go to get dessert type things, ice cream, cakes, pastries, things like that. And so before going through this exercise and completing this, all of their stuff sounded like everyone else's. So in other words, the ad may say something like this on Facebook, today we have our special blueberry cupcakes. Stop by and experience a delicious blueberry cupcake. Your kids will love it. You'll love it. Right. So very like factual, very like, here's the thing. Here's a great picture of the thing. It looks amazing. It looks tasty, but it's very much like, here's the thing. It looks amazing. It tastes amazing. You're going to love it. Now flip that. Once you go through this exercise, it may say something like this. First week of school is ridiculously stressful. Trust us. We have kids of our own. When you're stressed out, one of the things that you're looking for is something that takes you to France, like an escape to France. So again, I'm just off the top of my head here, but we're speaking to the fact that it's the first week of school here for their market. We're speaking to the stress that comes with the first week of school. We're then going to tie that to, are you looking for an escape? Are you looking for something that's going to transform or transfer your thoughts and your feelings to a magical place, like eating a pastry on the streets of Paris in the spring, right? So we're using their current frustrations, their current stresses, and we're overlaying our product or service onto that. And again, the difference is we speak to the heart versus to the head.
How do you know your customer's pain point? Like, do you talk with them or conduct some kind of research?
Yeah,
Or like, how do you know that?
the best thing you can possibly do is spend time with your customers, right? Spend time with those people. So let me give you one other example. So several years back, we had a very successful businessman who owned multiple companies. We'd done websites for all of his companies. He started an actual cattle ranch. And so he wanted a website for his cattle ranch. And he was going to be raising and breeding very expensive cattle. And so he wanted a website that was very corporate, that was very business filling, right? Because that's what he liked. He was a businessman with multiple businesses and he wanted to be very professional, very, like Fortune 500 type website, Fortune 500 company type website. And we knew that was the wrong decision. We knew that his buyers, the people who would actually be buying his cattle that he was going to raise, that wasn't them, right? They were typically ranchers. These were people who had grown up in cowboy boots, who spent their days in the field, typically herding cattle, tending to cattle. It was kind of a farm lifestyle. And so what we said, look, we don't agree with your decision to move this direction. So here's what we would love to do. At your next cattle auction, we want to come and we want to actually talk to the people who are actually bidding on your cattle. And we want to get their feedback. And so what we did was we created several different website mocks, samples of what the website could look like. And we went around and we talked to dozens and dozens of people who were there bidding on cattle, getting their feedback, getting their input on what resonated with them, what felt true, what felt right to them. Earl Nightingale said years ago that if you want to drastically transform your business over the next 12 months, the number one way to do that is to spend an hour a day figuring out how you can better serve your customers and clients. And I firmly believe that. So it ties directly into that. We need to be in tune with the pain points, the frustrations, the goals, the desires of our audience. And the other big thing is we need to remember that we are here to serve them, not the other way around.
It's one of these it's this philosophy in particular that Jeff Bezos talks about when it comes to, or when he tries to describe like how Amazon became such a big company within such a short period of time. He excessively focuses on customers, especially customer satisfaction. That's why, Amazon delivery time has been reducing, and even though they are such a big company, they are still focusing on reducing their like delivery time by introducing new kind of technologies like using drones to deliver their products, and now their website has an increasing amount of data about the customers because people are buying directly from their websites, and things like when they're buying or when they're adding to cart, and then what kind of price they are uh, and the most customers people or the most people are buying a certain kind of product, so they're now having a wealth of data. And what they're now doing is, previously, when they did not have any of their own products, they used to list other people's products, especially books, when they started out, into their own website. Now they have that rich amount of data which other third party people don't, and what they're doing is they're using that data to build customized products, because they know that what will succeed and what will not, since they just have a wealth of data and wealth, which helps them to build their own products now. You will see that Amazon focuses a lot on their own products now. They don't focus um, like they do focus on other products as well, but it's not like as they used to be, because now they're their own brand. They are like they're having Kindle, they're having uh, Alexa, voice assistants, and like they're branching out to different products. How can they do that? It's because they've focused on customers and they collected the data from the customers, and now they exactly know the pain points of the customer. Just like Wayne was you were mentioning us so much during this whole session, that you have to know about your customers and their pain points and like what they do in their daily life. And in one of my marketing courses, I have like seen this chart where it comes from from the top hierarchy to the to the bottom people when it comes to delivering the instructions. Now they're saying that the chart has been flipped, because now the bottom people, the sales people, the people who are interacting with the customers, can give more knowledge about their customers to the upper hierarchy people, and now the CEOs and the upper like hierarchy people are now taking decisions based on that. So yeah, just to agree on what Wayne said, what you said a few minutes ago.
Yeah, the thing I love about what you brought up is Jeff Bezos, in one of his very first shareholder letters, he said that customers are divinely discontent, and we love this about them. Now, I work with a lot of entrepreneurs in a lot of different industries, and I can tell you that very often they complain about their customers. They complain about their clients. They certainly don't say, I love the fact that my customers are discontent, right? So Jeff Bezos' mindset is that we exist to serve our customers and to serve them well, like all the points you just brought up. And they embrace the fact that their customers are going to be discontent. In other words, what is a level of satisfactory service today, tomorrow won't be that, right? Because the expectations of today for base level service, tomorrow becomes expected. It becomes the expected thing. And so it's this constant escalator going down. And as marketers, we need to be aware of that. We need to be aware of the fact that the more we do the same thing over and over again, it used to be remarkable, right? At one point, 2-day delivery here in the States was remarkable for Amazon, but now it's expected because it's been that way for so long. So as Amazon, or as any of us as entrepreneurs, we have to be aware that what feels like it's a remarkable experience today will no longer feel that way tomorrow to our customers and to our clients.
Because you're raising your own expectations, you're raising your own bar, and now people will expect more from you, because you have performed so well that people expect more from you. And I've seen this happening with athletes, that like the superstar ones, that they perform so well that their fans expect them to perform that well every time. And so what happens is that they fall into that pressure, and that pressure, if they are mentally strong enough, they can deal with that. If they're not, they just crumble. So that pressure is also something that can be very intense, be it for athletes or be it for businesses and any individual in general. And it's mostly about outgrowing yourself and competing with yourself and improving each day, and making small changes which will help you improve each day. Speaking of that, one question that came to my mind is, what are some of the unethical practices that marketers use that you want normal people to be aware of so that we can save ourselves?
Yeah, I would say that unfortunately, there are some marketers out there who understand psychology, human psychology, exceptionally well, and they use that to their advantage. We live in a day and age right now where I would say, I don't know what the right word would be, but we live in a guru day and age. In other words, there's a lot of people out there who have positioned themselves as experts, as gurus in their space. And they're trying to convince other people to hire them to be a coach, to be a consultant, to teach you, or to teach, whoever's buying their service, how to quote unquote get rich, or how to do something exceptionally well. So I see this all the time. So, in our space, the marketing space, there are so many gurus out there who will teach you how to make $10,000 a month as a marketer. And yet they have never made $10,000 a month as a marketer, but they're making now way more than $10,000 a month teaching other people how to make $10,000 a month. Right. And so I think the important thing to understand is that there's a big difference when it comes to, we're talking about intellectual things here, but when it comes to the difference between advice and opinion. Anyone can give you their opinion, right? Your parents, your siblings, your neighbor next door, some random person walking down the street, you can go to that person and you can say, hey, I need your input on this particular scenario, this opportunity, or how to solve this problem. And they can give you an opinion. But just because someone can give you an opinion doesn't mean we should implement, or that we should trust what they're telling us. The other hand, there's this thing called advice. Now, advice, in my opinion, comes from one of three different people. Number one, someone who's been in the situation or been in our shoes, so to speak, right? So they've been in this type of problem, or they've solved this, or they've accomplished this thing by taking advantage of certain opportunities that we're considering as well. So they've been here. The other one would be someone who has witnessed firsthand someone who has solved the problem or taken advantage of the opportunity. So that could be like a COO, or it could even be like an executive assistant who was there when the problems were solved or when the decisions were made. And the third person that I would take advice from is someone who's truly a world-class expert, meaning they have dedicated years to understanding a particular problem or understanding how to take advantage of certain opportunities. and they've poured their lives into that specific thing. So those are the people that I would trust for advice. But we get into trouble when we confuse the difference between advice and opinion.
How can normal people? I have seen that guru type of thing as well a lot, but what they do is they deliver good quality content for a long time, and they build that trust with their customers. Sorry, with their viewers, and then they set up a course which is like an accumulation of all the random data available on the internet, and they just sell it at a very high price. If so, since they're like delivering value, people think that it's real, but actually it does not turn out to be real. So how can normal people identify what's real and what's fake?
Yeah, again, I would look at what are their actual accomplishments, right? So if someone's telling you they can teach you how to make $10,000 a month doing X, Y, or Z, like get the actual data, right? Don't just trust the receipts they show, right? If they're showing like on their videos, like, here's how much money I made in the last month. Keep in mind that most of that money comes from selling the products and the services and the coaching, teaching you how to make money. It doesn't actually come from doing the thing they're teaching you how to do. So find someone who's done the thing you want to do. So if you're, let's use marketing just because it's what I'm in. But if I'm in the process of trying to grow my agency even further and take it to the next level, I don't want to go to someone who says, I'm going to teach you how to grow your agency to 8 figures. Unless that person has actually built an 8-figure agency. And there's proof of that, right? There's not just, I built an 8-figure agency. Trust me. Like, where's the website? What happened to the company? Do you still have it? Did you sell it? If you sold it, is it still in existence? Who owns it now? Does the brand still exist? Like all of these things, because we live in a world full of, just people who proclaim to be experts, proclaim to be gurus, and the only thing they're actually really good at is convincing other people and psychological manipulation, like you laid out, to get people's money to make you believe that they are indeed experts.
And they use people's weaknesses, especially young people who are, let's say, who have a lack of money or who are lost in life. And when you're lost in life and when you're like thinking what to do, you are an easy target for these kind of advertisements and people. And so what they do is, here you go, do this thing, do this copywriting thing, and you'll get $10 an hour. So, but it does not turn out to be something sustainable. And what they do is they initially give you the $10 and they gain your trust, and then they ask some like a healthy amount of money, and then you lose whatever you had, even though you are in a very poor situation starting even in the initial cases. Okay, one last question I would like to ask you is, according to my observation, I feel like people's spending habits have increased a lot, especially after after like social media and internet got to know more about people's psychology and the introduction of debit and credit cards. And so like, because it allows people to buy anything in loans instantly, and which is why like their spending habits seems to have increased a lot. And people are and brands are the people are buying more stuff than they usually are, because previously they used to have to like give the cash like in hand. So but now you can just do an online payment, and which is why people are having that pain point less, because they're not physically giving that cash out, right? So, and it's been like this very recently. So from a marketer's perspective, how do you see all these things, and where do you see it going, and what kind of advice would you have for people so that they can successfully navigate through this?
Yeah. So, as with so much in the marketing world, the tools, the platforms, the things aren't inherently good or bad. It's how we choose to use them. So, for example, instant loans to buy products. So you can go on a website and something, let's just say it's $500. You can have that broken into 12 monthly payments of whatever that comes out to be, right? And so that tool inherently isn't bad. The ability to have that credit instantly, to have that loan instantly, there's nothing inherently bad about that. Where we get into the issue and where we get into the problem is how we as marketers use that and leverage that, right? In other words, if we don't genuinely believe that the person who's going to part with the money is going to get a return on their investment, whether it's a physical product, whether it's a digital product, whether it's a service, if we don't inherently know and believe that the product's going to be worth more to them than the money they part with, then we have to examine ourselves, right? That comes down to an integrity issue with ourselves. So if you are out there and you are attempting to convince and persuade people to part with money, and you don't genuinely deep down believe that if they give you $1, they're going to get more than $1 in value from your product or service, then you really shouldn't be pitching or selling that thing, right? You may need to find something else to pitch or sell, because at the end of the day, the tools, the platforms, the resources aren't inherently bad or good. It's how we choose to use them and implement them.
Thank you, Wayne, for coming onto my show and sharing such valuable information and stuff which people might not have been aware of. Um, it has been a wonderful episode with you, and I feel like we touched on so many things, but we could not like elaborate on that. Maybe something like that will happen in the future.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Do you have any last message from your audience?
Sure. What I would say is this, that regardless of where you are, regardless of what you're pursuing in your life, whether it's better relationships, whether it's better physical health, whether it's building the business of your dreams, that this one phrase literally will transform your life, will transform your business, will transform your health. And I know that's a big claim, but this is it. This is the phrase. Consistency creates miracles. Consistency creates miracles. I see this time and time again in my life, other people's lives, is that we set an intention, we set a goal, whether that's relational, whether that's, physical health, whether that's to grow a business, and we passionately begin pursuing that thing. But then something happens and we allow our excuses to take precedent over the goal, right? And I have this other saying that is this, that you can either have an excuse or you can have success, but you can't have both. So be consistent in those things. Look for the small daily habits that will compound over time. So in your relationships, it's not about going to spend 3 hours visiting with your family or with whoever it is that you're trying to build a relationship. Look for the little small things that you can do consistently. So maybe it's literally, I'm going to spend 5 minutes a day calling someone who I haven't talked to in a while, or stopping by and visiting with someone for 5 minutes that I haven't stopped by and talked to in a while. If it's health, the biggest thing I see with health is this, that people get on an exercise or they get on a diet and they stay on it until the weekend. And then weekend rolls around and it's like out the window. And so then Monday they start back on the diet again. And the problem is we're sabotaging our own successes. So instead, let's look for the small little disciplines, because at the end of the day, consistency will create miracles.
In this world of dopamine hits, it's very hard to understand and apply this philosophy. And I remember Simon Sinek saying something similar, and that interview went viral. And that is, if you are, let's say you start going to the gym, you go to the gym for day one, you will not see any change. You go to the gym day two, you'll not see any change. Day three, day four, day five, you'll likely not see any change. But if you go to the gym and properly work out for a couple of days or like a substantial period, then you will start seeing the results. And in that interview, that he was saying that Gen Z people, the young people, they get very frustrated easily because, and when they ask like, why are you getting frustrated? They're like, I'm not creating an impact. And they're not creating an impact, even though like they're just a newcomer. They came to the company a few days ago, right? So, and he also mentioned about relationships, like when it's not just as magic spark when that keeps a relationship alive with your with your other partner. It's the little things that keeps your relationship alive, that you do at a consistent basis. Little things like asking them how are they doing, what are they like, how is their life going, and giving them small gifts. It doesn't have to be an expensive one. You can just make something out of paper, and if they really are the truly are the ones, and they should appreciate the small efforts that you're putting in, and the small things that you're putting in. And even the small droplets of water can create a big pool of sea, or like a big sea or a big ocean. So, and the atoms and the molecules, when they combine together, they create the universe. So, it's the small things that really do matter the most. And at this day and age, it's very hard to apply that, even if you understand that, because we are used to instant things. Whenever we want to watch a movie, there you go, you have Netflix. You want to go somewhere, there you go, you have Uber. You want to learn something, there you go, you have YouTube. People are becoming YouTube experts. So yeah, even though we know it, even though I know it, I'll have to do a lot of work on myself to actually understand and apply this philosophy in my life. So thank you, Wayne, for coming onto my show.
Thank you so much. I've enjoyed our chat.